The artist craftsman has been part of American heritage since the early part of the 18th century. I'm Barbara Cohenauer. Stay tuned as Focus on Art visits today with Rebecca and Mark Hawley at Urban Furniture to see a continuation of this fine American tradition. Mark and Rebecca Hawley are both designers. Rebecca does the rugs, Mark does the furniture. We're going to visit first with Rebecca. Hi, Rebecca. Welcome to Focus on Art. We appreciate being here today and being in your wonderful shop. It's great to see artists turning creative ideas into things that are very useful for all of us in our everyday lives.
Well, particularly useful, I guess, for everybody is a TV cabinet. And this is a piece that Mark's done. It's kind of an Egyptian feeling to it, a deco feeling. And we put a lot of emphasis on what works for people. In this case, pocket doors, when people want to open it and watch television or swivel out, and pivot trays for the television. This is an oak piece with oak veneer, ribbon cut oak, so it has just a little bit different grain on it. And it's accented with Zolotone paint and a silverized paint. Nice look.
Great cabinet. Now, how did you get in the business of doing this?
Mark has been doing custom furniture for 14 years. He has a degree in art production from Oklahoma University.
Okay.
I went to Oklahoma State.
Oh my, that's hard on a marriage right
Actually, yeah, my background's in fashion, merchandising, and design, and I spent about 10 years in New York in the manufacturing end, also in the retail end, so combined, our talents are really complementary. He's more the artist designer, I'm more of the merchandiser and the retailer, so together it works for all these ventures that we've gotten involved in.
Oh, that's great. So are you both Oklahomans?
Yes, both Tulsans.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we love to have an opportunity to visit with artists that are from our area, and particularly those that are native to our area. Okay, let's look at some more of the things that Mark's designed. As we head over this way, I know this table is one of his creations, bent wood and Zolotone again.
Right, and granite top. This is called the Phantom table. It has a lot of nice movement to it. We do it in a lot of different versions. This one happens to have a pull-out drawer that is kind of hidden when you have it closed. It's a difficult piece to do, but it's just a real special piece. And it's called the Phantom table. Something new that we're starting to do, and it has that same kind of movement working with it, is the legs on the table. We call them wiggly legs, obvious reason. And this is part of the line that we have developed to market to stores all over the country. We're doing tables in all different heights with the wiggly legs. And then a real important item for us is this hat box table, and it's actually a functional piece. It lifts for storage inside, and there's a variety of sizes and diameters that these hat boxes will come in, and then we feature metal finials on them. This is the item that all over the West Coast and lots of different stores will be shipping out this fall. So it looks like a real winner for us. It's whimsical, the colors are good, it's functional, pricing is real good on it as well. And they're sitting next to a prototype that we did, Frank Lloyd Wright, Macintosh, Hawley design. So it's kind of a combination of a whole lot of different ideas from 20th century designers.
Well, you know, when you look at a piece like this, I think you can really come to grips with the term postmodern. It is a very contemporary piece, and yet it just brushes against the historical Macintosh chair, and it's extremely handsome chair. And really, his rendition has brought that chair, which traditionally looks early 20th century, into the style of the last part of the century.
Well, what you just said, 20th century, is really the key. Now that we're at the close of the 20th century, this furniture's all kind of falling into a style which combines deco. It combines the mission furniture. It combines the Corbusier, the Macintosh, all those early designers that were starting to be real important at the first of the century, all the way through mid-century, even some of the 50s. So it's all kind of a boiled down to a 20th century style, and that's really what we're trying to approach. Not contemporary per se, but a 20th century well-designed feeling. And that's an excellent piece to show that idea.
Well, it certainly is. You know, I was thinking back, I have not taught history of furniture for probably 4 or 5 years.
So you have a background.
But you know, typically you start with someone like Macintosh and you say, oh, well, this is contemporary furniture style, and yet it's 100 years old.
Yes,
now.
it is. People don't realize that.
Right.
Some of the other pieces we're going to see were designed, or types, that look was designed in the around the turn of the century. It's amazing. It's not contemporary. It's not new. It's
really part of our historical past. Well, as we pass over towards this table, we have a rug here. Why don't we take a look at this? Now, this is one of your designs.
Yes, I like to work with the textiles a lot, and we use kind of a graphic. Now, this is inspired, too, of some of the people who are painting, Kandinsky, Jean Muir, some of the real graphic kind of art that was going on in the 20s and 30s. I like to use that as kind of a inspiration for some of these. Some show it more than others. This is combining an industrial or commercial carpet with actually plush carpet. So not only is it something very graphic, but it's a real durable kind of piece.
Now, Rebecca, is this a prototype piece? Would you do this for a particular customer in different colors? Or is this a finished piece?
It's a finished piece.
And you would sell it as it is?
That we sell in the store, and several of them are. And I try to keep a certain amount of rugs in the store, so as time goes along, and whatever materials I have in the warehouse to work with too, sometimes. That's the way. In fact, this is a couple of pieces that was left from a big rug that we did, and this is how we used it. And we try to use every inch of those materials. That way we can keep our costs down and pass on good prices to customers.
Wonderful. Now, is this table one that you all designed?
Yes, this is the bubble table, and we do this metalwork, and then we have a glass artist that does what Mark's designs maybe, so she does a wonderful job. And we've used the bubble motif. We also have a leaf motif, a deco motif, so there's about 5 different patterns that we can have done in a table like this, and do it to any size. So even though we're retail, we still think very custom.
All right. Well, now as we wander on down this way, we come to another fantasy table. And then this appears to be a whole series of pieces that are somewhat related.
Yes, they are. These are natural maple finishes, and we're adding legs and what we call decks to the top of these that we do in the dyed maples. And these are penetrating dyes. They're on the idea of aniline dyes, but they just show the grain through a lot better than a paint would. And we're marketing items very similar to this along with the hat box table as well. The wiggly legs can be put on these. The neoprene, which is what is the material that the hardware is made out of. It's rubber. It's what wetsuits are done out of. It's a nice little piece of hardware. They're simple, but they can be, again, we still think in terms of custom. They can go wider, taller, add drawers, add shelves, so they're storage pieces. They work with what the customer's needs are. Now next to it, kind of sandwiched in the middle of a couple of pieces here, this is in some of the higher end design pieces that we've done, and it's a beautiful piece, this polka dot entry piece. It's made out of 3 different woods. The edge here is padauk. It's a real hard African wood. Then we have maple and mahogany, and what we do with those pieces is we actually punch out a hole in the wood and then insert a dot. So we are actually doing kind of a marquetry type of work to make this.
Certainly an important part of the artist craftsman tradition of furniture making, the marquetry patterns. Once again, that bringing the past into the
Yes,
present.
updating techniques, taking it another step forward. The mirror above it also is actually one of our pieces too. We laser cut this. We call it Venus de Mirror. If you notice that it's kind of a real voluptuous shape there, and that's a lot of fun. So in a couple of places we do accessories as well if there's something that catches our eye, and we like to do it. Now, a couple of cabinets down here, this Riffle cabinet that you're standing next to is probably one of the most important pieces in cabinetry.
Can I go ahead and open this?
Yeah, go ahead and open it. And you'll see, I can show you on this side, we've put hinges in it that go around a full 270-degree so that if someone wants to put a television in there and they don't want the doors in their way, it'll work real well. And you see a couple of color samples in there. The tops, what we call the crown top, and the base can be dyed in different colors. Those are just a couple of them. We laser cut these ripple doors so that they're perfectly, from cabinet to cabinet, they're
Okay.
perfect. You'll notice that when you close the doors, all the grains line up in the piece. So really all that you see is the ripple kind of running in between the grains.
Well, this is really a beautiful piece. Now, I would think that interior designers would be custom ordering a piece like this as an accent piece.
Well, it is. Now, we are seeing that the customers that come into our stores, more and more, even in Tulsa where we have big spaces, there's still people who have small spaces, so these narrow, tall cabinets are real important. And yes, it's important for designers also, and they may take this detail and take it to other pieces, this ripple detail. But just for the walk-in person that is looking for storage or looking for pieces in their house, this is important. Less and less furniture in the bedroom. We have great big closets, but smaller bedrooms, big closets, and maybe just one piece with a bed. So kind of a less is more approach, and this is a perfect piece to work with that idea. And we've dyed, for different people, we've done this in oak and dyed it gray, purple, different colors that are real appealing too.
I think that, in this day and age with all the mass production, it is so nice to know that we have the possibility of having something in our house, in our color, that was created particularly for us, and a piece where the craftsmanship is so fine.
That's important. So that's what separates us from what they call lifestyle furniture, which is very inexpensive, contemporary kind of furniture. So, 20th century furniture isn't really new. It's very new. We're designing it as we go. So to represent the quality and still have good prices, but really the quality and the caliber of design is what we think our niche is, rather than being cheap and knocking off, someone else that's doing it and doing mass produce. So.
Okay, well, you're doing a wonderful job,
Well, thank
Rebecca. Okay, let's pass back this way. Rebecca, this is a beautiful piece of furniture. And once again, it's very reminiscent of something perhaps from Frank Lloyd Wright.
Yes, we've updated the look of it a little bit by using mahogany. We've also changed the slope on the back. I think the original goes straight up and down. So this is actually a much more comfortable chair and done in a little different wood than is traditionally used. In the original furniture, they used what's called quarter sawn oak, which the oak is cut in a different manner. And we have it with what we call our Wavy checkerboard table, and this is another real good example of marquetry, and it's maple and mahogany again, and this is ribbon mahogany, so it has a real interesting grain to it, a much stronger grain than normal. And you notice again, all the grains line up from piece to piece, and when we make these, we do 2 tables at once. There's a sheet of the maple and a sheet of the mahogany, and they cut out the squares, so one table will have mahogany and maple, and then its opposite will make the other table. So you get 2 tables, and it's all glued up and creates this really nice, what we call wavy checkerboard. There's a quarter sawn oak piece in the Frank Lloyd Wright inspired design.
All right. Well, this is wonderful, and I love the way you do 2 at a time so you don't waste anything. All right, if we head over to some more colorful pieces, we might want to take a look at those. And on the way, of course, we're going to pass by another one of your rugs. And another great design, Rebecca.
Very simple. This one's Squiggles, I think we called it. We make up names for these. Some of them are real silly, but so we can distinguish them from one pattern to another. And this, of course, I've made this in other sizes. Right now we have this in a really nice deco house in the entryway. It works real well with that style, too. Very simple.
All right. Well, this is certainly one of the more unusual pieces of furniture in the collection. And of course, one that's really fun and exciting.
Well, that has some history with us. 3 years ago, Neiman Marcus found us in Dallas. Really, we were in a showroom, and this piece was kind of hidden in the back, and they found it, put it on the cover of their Housewares magazine in the spring 3 years ago, and we sold that very well all over the country, shipped it in practically every state. So it is a piece that has history. We call it the cat bench, very whimsical. We also have these pieces in Santa Fe in a store that has some of our things there. So this is kind of a springboard to marketing. It's very different from a lot of things that you see. It's a folk art piece.
Well, being an old cat person, I think it's spectacular.
Great.
Okay, let's see, while we're in this area, let's take a look at the bed. That's also very interesting.
It's a fun bed. It's called the Tidal Wave, and we call it that from the headboard. It's kind of has a peak of a wave. The headboard and the footboard, or the post here, we've instead of doing something really straight and traditional, we've again gone back to that wiggly style. And in a big piece like this is a very hard piece to execute, to make.
Rebecca, did you cut this with the laser beam too?
Well, I didn't cut anything. But
right, I'm sorry.
I'm not a technician, but no, they used a bandsaw to do that.
Well, I can just imagine getting the curves going both ways would just drive you crazy trying to do this.
Well, they're master cabinet makers, master furniture builders, so that, you know.
Right.
It's easy for us to say. It's just a step for them.
Wow. Okay, let's step over here and take a look at this dining room table. Looks like you are prepared to do this for customers in a number of different
yeah, there's a lot
here.
of choices here. And a lot of choices in finishes too. We call it our Neo dining table. And this particular piece has a mahogany apron here, molding apron. And then we do maple, natural maple, and then a mahogany again on the socks. It's a tapered look to it, so it's a real clean look, real simple, and probably one of the most durable surfaces you can possibly get would be the granite. So there's choices in granites and in finishes as well. This has been a very good table. We had this in our house for a while. Children cannot do anything to this unless they pull out a little jackhammer or something. So.
Well, my children never had a jackhammer, so
nothing to worry about.
Nothing to worry about. Well, this is an interesting piece. Exactly what do we have under here?
Well, those are actually ostrich eggs, and they're really quite. I don't know how the little ostriches get out of here. They're so tough. There's a steel rod through these, and they're non-fertile, as you can imagine.
All right.
They're actually grown or bred or laid or whatever here in Oklahoma. So it's a very organic piece.
All right. The home state ostrich egg on the piece of furniture created here in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yes, Mark had ostrich egg tables on his brain for a long time, and finally he executed it, and this is the look here.
Okay. Well, this has just been a very interesting experience, being here and seeing the wonderful things you're creating, kind of getting an update on what artists, craftsmen are doing in America today. What we'd like to do is kind of pack up our camera, travel down to the shop, and visit with Mark for a few minutes and actually see some of these pieces under construction. Rebecca, thank you so much.
Thanks, Barbara.
Appreciate your being here.
You're welcome.
We've changed location, and we're now in Mark Hawley's shop, where the wonderful pieces of furniture you've been looking at Urban Furniture are made. Hi, Mark.
Hello.
Welcome to Focus on Art.
Good to meet you.
We appreciate interrupting your day here for a few minutes to see how you've created these wonderful works of art / pieces of furniture. They're just spectacular.
Well, yeah, I was getting ready to maybe show you one of the pieces that you saw in the showroom. It was the polka dot piece.
Oh, great. Okay.
this is a finished sample, and I was going to just show you real quickly how it's done. You can take any type of veneer. These polka dots are made with veneer, any type of veneer, whether it's black, ebonized wood, or this is Paduke. This happens to be rosewood, and this happens to be maple. And you take these punches, and you punch, this is for a polka dot table, you punch out the size that you want with a hammer, and it makes these little circles like this. Then you can set those into the contrasting wood and create a table that's polka dot. I better use a black one here so it shows up. So you can make a polka dot table with maple and ebonized wood, or maple and rosewood, or maple and Paduke, or elm, or there's just endless possibilities. You're not limited just to dots too. You can do squares, you can do, you know, logos, you can do anything.
Okay, as long as you have the punch to do it, you can cut it out.
You can cut it out, that's exactly right.
Okay.
Then what we do from this stage is we tape the little dots onto the piece of wood so they don't go anywhere. We use a thing called fish tape, and it's actually made with a fish byproduct. So you tape the dots down, you just lick this and tape the dots down. You put glue on here, you roll the glue onto the piece of wood that you want this to end up on, if you want it to be, you know, 4 feet wide or 2 feet wide or whatever. And then we use this vacuum bag over here, and I was going to show you how that works real quick.
Oh, okay. Let's step over here.
You would take this product right here, and you would slide it into the vacuum bag like this. You've got your polka dots in place. You've got the tape glued onto them so that they stay put. You've got your glue under here onto this board. You slide that into the bag. You seal it up on the end. You fold it over and seal it up on the end. And then you turn the pump on, and what this does is it sucks out all the air in here, create a vacuum, puts an extreme amount of pressure evenly over the whole surface, and then you leave it in there for about 3 or 4 hours, depending on the piece. And when you pull it out, your polka dots have dried. I'll show you this sample we did here. You pull it out, the glue's dried, and the polka dots, depending on which kind of wood you've used, are in place. And then you can peel off the tape, sand them flush, and then apply your finish. And this same concept was used in this table, for example. This is a dining table for an individual. Instead of polka dots, we did the black ebonized wood here. We did a mahogany wood on the edge, and then we did a mahogany inlay on a maple. But we dyed the maple, you can see the contrast, we dyed the maple in kind of a smoky gray color. But this whole table was pushed into this bag, which is 12 feet long, and these were applied with the pressure from the bag.
Okay, so in other words, you don't have to use the clamps that we think about in the old style
Yeah, the
furniture
old
making.
style veneer press, which was basically a big board with about 100 clamps on it, and tried to get pressure evenly. This works much more consistently.
Great, so it gives you this wonderful quality.
Yeah.
While we're looking at this dining room table, Mark, is this something that you've designed?
This design here was a design from someone else. We do some of our own design, and we also are more than welcome to look at people that bring in their own ideas.
Okay, so maybe an interior designer brought this in for a client or something.
This was brought in by an interior designer. And we'd also do work for just individuals that have an idea they saw or dreamed up, and they wanted to know where they can get it fabricated.
All right, so you can come down here and have it done by real craftsmen. Before we leave this area, this looks vaguely familiar. Is this part of the cat bench?
Yeah, this is back in an early stage. We take the pine. This is made out of pine. We use clear pine, molding grade pine with no knots. We cut it into approximately a little over 1/8 inch strips. You can kind of see them staggered here on the end. And we have a mold that we use. We put each strip in the mold, apply glue to it, and bend them around. They're cut thin enough that they can make this bend without having to steam them. We glue all the strips at once. They're covered with glue, literally, and then we clamp it up and let them dry overnight. And that's how we make the back. It just makes a lot stronger back.
So you really are using all kinds of different woodworking techniques here, and most of them are very labor intensive.
Most of them are. I mean, there's not a lot of shortcuts to some of the processes. I was going to talk to you a little bit about this leg, these wiggly legs. I think you might have seen those at the store too.
Yes, those are very interesting.
We do different sizes. We do a dining height leg. And we do, these are upside down. We do a little coffee table leg, an end table leg. This is the dining size leg. These are cut out of solid maple, 4-inch maple. The process here, it's a lot like cutting out a Queen Anne leg, where you've got, they call this the knee of the leg, but instead of just having one curve and then just running it into a taper, we go back, we kind of curve it and taper it at the same time, so that you end up with more of a rippled effect. We were trying to do something that was a little bit different, yet other people could sort of relate to it as far as the curve and the shape. It had characteristics that were similar to other legs. The process is basically take a solid piece of wood like this, depending on the height of the leg you want. You trace the pattern on here on two sides so that the knees are facing each other. So you have this knee pointing this direction, then you draw it on this side and have this knee pointing this direction. You trace it on there with a pencil. You bandsaw out both sides. You bandsaw these two cuts, then you bandsaw these two cuts. Then we use masking tape to tape those cut pieces back together.
All right.
And cut it out the other direction, and we end up with a sort of a compound cut like this.
Well, that's really amazing. I would hate to have to think about getting the curves going the right way on all four sides, but that's why you're the expert here. Mark, how about selling these things like this in the marketplace? Are you competing with other craftsmen in this country, or are you involved in the world market?
Well, we've taken these recently to the San Francisco market, and we're finding ourselves that it's not just a regional market anymore. We go into San Francisco because it's we're just a West Coast area, a little bit more population density, but we found ourselves competing on a global market. You got Indonesian manufacturers, you've got Mexican manufacturers, you've got Japanese, Chinese. It's becoming a global marketplace, so it's making it tougher on the U.S. individuals trying to compete. I'm sure the auto industry is kind of learned and making some comebacks, having to go through that experience. But when you're doing a product that's so labor intensive and so hands-on intensive, that our labor costs are just a little bit higher than some of these other countries. But we're finding ourselves having to try to compete in those marketplaces. Our big advantage is to try to come up with products that are innovative, the design element is good, and they're different enough that that not everybody's going to want to jump out and try to compete with us head on, and if they do, it'll be real obviously that they are. I mean, if this wiggly leg shows up on some products, it'll be real easy to spot it, because it's sort of a trademark image.
Okay, well, Mark, we certainly appreciate the opportunity to be here today. I think you're doing a wonderful job. Your craftsmanship is outstanding.
Thank you very much.
I'm
really glad to be here.
Thank you. For those of you at home, we appreciate your being with us, as always, for Focus on Art.